Alright guys, we are going to continue on in our new graphing and slope packet. And we're going to talk today about how to calculate a slope. So what is the slope of a line? Alright, when I ask to say that word, you hear that word, you remember that word. All that a slope is it's how steep, right, is your line. Is it really steep, like straight up and down, or is it kind of steep, like not too steep? That's all that a slope is, okay? So the way we can find it from a graph is we always calculate for the slope, we do rise over run. And your rise is always your up or down value of how far did you go up or down, and your run is always how far do you go to the right or to the left. Right, think about it. If you rise in an elevator, you go up the elevator or you go down the elevator. So that's rising up or down. Running, you run straight across, so you're going to run right or left. These have different values. So up is always positive, down is always negative, right is always positive, and left is always negative. So the way you're going to calculate the slope for these pictures is you're going to start at the point that's lowest down, and then you're going to count how many do I rise up. So I'm going to go up and count steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, until I'm even with the next point. See how I'm even across? So that was 4, which means that my rise is 4. So that number always goes on top of the fraction. And then I'm going to count how many steps do I run. So I'm going to go to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's because I went to the right. It's a 6. And this is positive and this is positive because I'm going up and right. Those are both positives. Okay? You always have to reduce, so use your calculator. And my final answer would be a slope of 2/3. Okay, so that's how you find your slope. Let's go to example 2. Again, same thing. Start with the lowest point and start by rising up and count. Whoops. Okay, so I'm going to start by counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So my rise is 7, and then my run is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But notice I went to the left 9, so I have to do a -9. And this one does not reduce if you try it, so that's your answer. That's it, 7 over -9. Okay, let's try example 3. It's a little different. I want to know how much I rise. Well, from this point to the next one, I don't rise at all. There's nothing I'm going up or down because I'm just going straight across. So that's a rise of 0. Okay, but I do run on this one. Let's count how far we run. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So my run is 6. Well, 0 divided by 6 is just 0, and that's our answer. All right, how about this next one? Again, we start with rise. How far do I rise from this point to the next? 1, 2, 3. So my rise is 3. How far do I run, though? Do I go to the right or to the left? I don't. So my run is 0. Now, if you type this in your calculator, it is going to say error. Because you're dividing by 0, you can never divide by 0. And so if you see that, it's going to say error, can't divide by 0. And so your answer, what you're going to write down, is this word, undefined. So that's a really important word, undefined. That's what you're going to say anytime you have the 0 on the bottom. 0 on the top is just 0. That's fine. 0 on the bottom, undefined. Okay? So now let's look at the bottom here, because there's another way to find the slope. If you don't want to graph it every time and always do, this idea of rise over run, you can do that every time, but there's also a formula. So let's go down here. This is our slope formula. So if you want, you can use the slope formula every time It's just m. That's what we always use for slope is m. And it's m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So if I look at these 2 points, right, here's x1 and y1, and then x2 and y2. So for my slope, I have to do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So let's start with y2. Here's y2. Well, that's just -6. So I'm going to replace that with -6. And then it says you're going to subtract y1. Well, what's y1? It's just a 7. So I'm going to replace that with 7. Now there's always a minus in the middle, so leave the minus in the middle. So I did y2 minus y1. Now I do the same thing with my x's. So for my x's, x2 is -2. So I'm going to just replace that with -2. And then x1 is right here, and it's -3. So I'm going to replace that with -3. And then I work these out. -6 minus 7 is -13. -2 minus a negative. There is a double negative here, so you have to leave it double negative. Type it in your calculator, minus a negative, and that'll give you 1. And then I reduce my fraction always, and my answer is -13. Okay, let's try another one. You're going to get plenty of time to practice this, so let's practice a couple more together. All right, so we're going to do y2, which is this number, minus y1. So I'm going to do 9 minus 3 on the top. And then on the bottom, I go to x2, which is 4, minus x1. And I always start over here on the right and go to the left. Start on the right, go to the left. And then do each one separately and reduce. And your final answer is -3/2. Kind of catching on? Let's try one more. y2, -3, minus y1, which is 3. Now let's do the x's. x2, which is 8, always a minus in the middle, x1, which is 6. So I get -6 over 2, reduce -3. I know I go kind of fast because sometimes I do this math in my head where you would rather do it on your calculator, and that's fine. Just pause my video, try the problem on your calculator, double check that you're getting it right. Okay? So that's page 3. You can either do rise over run for slope, or you can use the formula. Now down here, there's 4 different kinds of slope that I want you to recognize. If the graph from the left to the right is going up, like if I had a little car and it was driving up this hill, right? The car would be going up, 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 and it's a positive slope. Okay, that's when it's going up. Look down here though. What happens if it's going down, 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 down the hill? Here's the car. I like my drawing of my car. It's going down the hill. It's going to fall down the hill. That's when we get a negative slope. Okay, so notice my answer here is a negative versus my answer up here was positive. When it's flat across horizontally, that's a 0 slope. Okay, so we like to say horizontal gives us a 0 slope, and those are always y equals equations. We'll talk about this later. It's always y equals. But h means horizontal, and this means 0. Okay, then if it's straight up and down, that's a vertical line, right? So vertical lines always have that undefined slope that we saw, the one that gives you an error message. And these ones are going to be x equals. And we'll talk about this x equals later. Okay. So what you need to remember is this concept right here of vux and then hoy. If you want to write that on your paper, write vux and hoy on your paper so you'll remember that trick to do these lines, vux and hoy. All right, so use this page as a sort of a cheat sheet. If it asks you, does it have a positive slope or does it have a negative slope, you can come back to this page and this will be the one that'll tell you if it's going up from left to right, positive, down from left to right is negative, horizontal, 0, vertical, undefined. All right, so you're going to work through the next few pages. Finish anything you didn't get to finish on these 2 pages, submit it, and then next week we're going to start working through everything else that's on the next few pages to practice. So you'll get lots of practice, you can see here, of all these different types of points and slopes and lines. Okay, good luck.